Okay, Chris, I think, should we start?
Yep, let's go ahead.
All right. So thanks a lot for joining the business meeting of QCrypt 2021. So as always, at the QCrypt conferences, we use the business meeting for reporting about QCrypt in general, about the local reporting, program committee reporting, and also announcing the next QCrypt 2022 this year, and also the Best Student Paper Prize. So we're looking very much forward to that, especially. And so thanks for joining us, especially also thanks for those of you that joined from a time zone that is not as nice to join right now. So we very much appreciate that. And also welcome in name of the whole steering committee. So my name is Christoph Marquardt. I'm the chair of this year's QCrypt 2021 steering committee. Gorjan Alagic is the co-chair. There's Akahisa Tomita, Serge Fair, Fei Xu, Stacy Jeffrey, Hugo Spinton, and Marco Luca Marini, also in the current steering committee. So these are very special times. This is also why we had, again, I have to say again, a virtual conference here in QCrypt 2021. And so I welcome now the local committee to report about this QCrypt. I should say, before you're welcome to ask questions in the Slack channel. There's a Slack channel dedicated to this business meeting, and Chris and Serge will monitor that Slack channel. And there's also a dedicated time for questions and discussions after before the Best Student Paper Prize award. So please, Chris and Serge, you can take over for the local committee report.
All right, let me try to find the slides. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Serge Fair. I'm one of the organizers next to Christian Schaffner, who's going to take over in a few minutes. So yeah, we're going to bore you with some numbers around this year's edition of QCrypt. I'll start with a number of registrations. So we have almost 1,000 registrations that came in. Of course, that doesn't mean that we have 1,000 active participants at the conference. We're going to hear a little bit more about that later on. We open registration end of July, and you can see here there's sort of a rather linear increase in the number of registrations over time, with a couple of natural jumps. Sort of the first one early on when we officially announced that the registration is open, and then another one just right before the start of the conference. Also somewhere in the middle, there's sort of a little jump, which, initially I thought that's a random fluctuation, but then I looked into email conversation back then, and then I realized that that's when the industry session was finalized, and indeed there were sort of relatively many people from the industry signing up around that time. So I guess that's mainly speakers from the industry session and their colleagues. Okay, when you had to register, we were asking you to, tell us whether you consider yourself a theorist, experimentalist, or both. That's sort of the outcome that we get. We've seen this chart already during the opening remarks. Well, not exactly, because there were still some people signing up, after the start of the conference. So this gave us a chance to have a look at whether it's the theorists or the experimentalists that are more likely to sign up, well, after the start of the conference. And here you can see there's sort of a small bias towards the experimentalists being the ones signing up for the conference, well, after the start of the conference. And of course, you can play the same game with the position that you also had to indicate when you registered. And here you can see small bias towards industry people, the green part of the chart, and the postdocs, the blue part of the chart, as being the ones being more likely to sign up after the start of the conference. Okay, coming to a more serious point, well, it's already announced, sort of the two of us, we organized both last year's and this year's edition of QCrypt, both as an online conference. So this also means that we're going to have sort of one single budget for the two conferences, because there are certain, well, parts that cannot be clearly assigned to one or the other conference. So we'll just patch everything together. As you can see here, there are two main sources of income, one being sponsor money that coming from sponsors. So I'd like to take this opportunity again to thank all our generous sponsors. So altogether, we got 50,000 euro income from the sponsors, and the other source of income was the surplus from QCrypt 2019 that was transferred to us. On the other side of the expenses, there are sort of three bullets that you can see. So one is the Congress office from the University of Amsterdam that were helping us sort of in a professional way with certain parts of the organization. For instance, they took care of all the financial aspects like invoicing the sponsors and so on. And they also helped us sort of last year when it was clear that we had to switch to an online conference, in canceling everything that we had already booked, making sure that any prepayment we had already done at the beginning of last year, that we get this money back. I mean, we haven't sort of received the full bill yet from them. I guess it's going to be in the order of a few thousand euros. We'll have to see. Then last year, we used this Remoco platform to have certain parts of the conferences online. For instance, the poster session, that was a rather cheap option, but then there was some negative feedback from some of the participants about certain aspects of the platform that they didn't like. So this year we went for a more professional platform, but it also came with a rather serious price tag, as you can see. But sort of altogether, if you do the maths, you see that we still end up with a rather nice surplus. And well, as it's common, or as it's the rule with QCrypt, we're going to forward that to next year's organizers of the conference. And with this, I'm handing over to Chris, who will have some more numbers and charts and figures for you.
And of course, if you have any questions about this, in particular the budget, then feel free to ask us right after. So here are a few numbers from the Zoom sessions, at least those that we had so far, not including today. This is, here is 100, here is a 200, and we see kind of a trending line down, and that's actually similar to what we had last year. So here's a comparison to last year's numbers. They are, I think, similar in magnitude, and also kind of fluctuating a bit, first going down and then a little bit up again. See kind of two little spikes here. These are the number of viewers of the tutorials. So the tutorials were maybe a little bit more popular than the invited talks and contributed talks so far, basically as expected. Then this is a reminder, actually had this in last year already. If you use Zoom, they gather data about you. Particular all these things here, like your first name, your last name, your email, even though I think there you can use fake credentials and it will still work, but they will register when you joined and when you left and how long you spent and from where you were connecting to. So that's all somewhere on the Zoom servers now. And a word about connecting from China. We see they not only have great walls, but they also have great firewalls. and that makes it difficult for participants from China to access general Google services like YouTube. Also, Google Form we were using for registration last year. So there we learned the lesson of not doing that anymore, and we had our institute making a registration form. But unfortunately, there's also problems connecting to the Meet Anyway platform that are using some Google services. And well, as a service, nevertheless, we basically have almost all the material available from download on this Surf Drive folder. So Surf is a Dutch organization that helps the universities organize themselves and in particular store data. And so if you go to this link, the slides you can download, and there's also links on the website. That's where you uploaded your talks. Then all the contributed talks and the posters and slides can be downloaded from there. And I will make sure that also the invited talks and the tutorials will be available there for download. So moving on, we're using YouTube. Try to gather a little bit of stats, but there, yeah. So here is just from the whole QCrypt conference channel on YouTube. Here is 2 statistics I kind of extracted. They know you, so I guess Google knows pretty much exactly how old you are, or at least they're doing an educated guess. And you can see that most of our reviewers are between 25 and 34 years. So that's the big peak here. And also here, unfortunately, not such a big surprise, most of our reviewers are 90% are basically male. At least Google thinks so. Finally, a word about the website. We've been using exactly the same framework as last year. This so-called JAM stack. So JAM stands for JavaScript API and Markup. We're using Hugo as a static website generator and Netlify for some hosting. And we're grateful to them that we are qualified for the open source plan, so we don't have to pay anything for that. And it works very nicely. I'm really happy with how this is set up once you've figured it out. And I also would recommend that to future organizers to use. In particular, before you're using WordPress sites, and I think we might come back to this discussion because some of the old QCrypt websites are offline by now because WordPress needs to be continuously updated. And luckily, I have made some static copies of all old QCrypt websites. You can find that at this link here. And yeah, that will be the future, kind of to preserve these websites, to just like make copies that cannot be edited any further, but still contain the information from back in the days. Yeah, that brings us towards the end. I like to thank all our team. Some of them sitting here or there, very close to us. We had a lot of people helping us. Yeah, online, but also in person. And a big thanks to everybody who made this possible, not only this year, but also last year, and spending the time on organizing this conference. Thanks a lot. And of course, thanks, Serge, for the organization.
And yeah, thank you, Chris, in particular for your technical skills, like setting up, maintaining the website, or connecting Zoom to YouTube, you name it. Would have been completely lost without that. So thanks.
Yeah, thanks. So last year we finished off with these pictures from our home offices, and as you can see today, it looks slightly different. Actually, we are like happily united and vaccinated, and sitting in the same room. Also with Jelle, who is helping us here on site. Actually, when we zoom out, we can also see him live. So yeah, it's great too. It's much more fun to actually run it together, even though it's online. We'll still kind of, at least the 3 of us are following it online. All right, that's it from our side. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chris and Serge. And again, a big thank you to the whole team. I know this is a lot of work to organize all those things, and especially it's very unfortunate that again it had to be virtual. But I think you made a very good job to do this almost as nice as a real experience. So normally one could now hand over some flowers or whatever, but this is a bit complicated virtually. There's at least a virtual big applause now. Now I want to hand over to the program committee, to Carl and Tobias.
Great, thank you. Okay, can everyone see that? Okay, great. So myself and Tobias Gehring were the co-chairs of the program committee this year. I was responsible mainly for managing the theoretical side, and Tobias was responsible mainly for leading the experimental side. So we started back in February and March, and there were a couple decisions that were made early on. One was that we had come to see that virtual conferences tend to get a lot of submissions. So one thing we wanted to do was make sure we had plenty of reviewers for all those submissions. So we endeavored to get an extra large committee, and we'll see that on the next slide. Speaking of platforms, we decided this year, like last year, we would go with Hot CRP. This, I would say, was a good decision. I think it's a nice platform. It's pretty sparse. That just gives you what you need and nothing more. And I think it's user friendly. So I would recommend the next chair to consider that. We avoided costs by setting it up locally. We had some great staff support here at the University of Maryland. Some folks set it up for us, and that is what we used as the submission server. Call for papers, our relationship to post-quantum cryptography is evolving, just as the two fields are both evolving. And we put this in the call for papers to clarify the relationship between QCrypt and post-quantum cryptography. And as part of this, we also had post-quantum experts on the program committee. And that is prominently featured in our program this year. This is what the program committee looks like. I am curious if this is a record size, I don't know. Yeah, we had 36 members and a pretty good spread in expertise. The nice thing about having a large enough committee is that nobody feels overloaded, and we had some very good discussions. So I'll say a little about how the process went. So we did receive 137 talk submissions, whereas I understand in the last few years, we typically get about 100. So there was a major increase, and it's a good thing we were prepared for that. Of those, 80 were marked as theory and 44 were marked as experiments. So there were more theoretical submissions than experimental submissions. And then there was about a 7-week review period. I think that's a little more than average, but it was nice to have that because it was comfortable. And basically we had 4 weeks for the reviews, followed by a discussion period of about 2 weeks. And then after that, there was a vote by the program committee. And about 2/3 of the acceptances were done at stage 2, and then the remaining third were done at stage 3. Basically what we did was after we had accepted somewhere around 20 submissions, we looked at the remaining that were kind of on the borderline, and going by review scores first, but also by reviews and discussion. And we identified those as borderline, and then we opened it up to the whole program committee to vote on the remainders. Overall, we accepted 29 talks, 29 contributed talks total. If anyone's wondering why it was 29 and not 30, it was because of an overlap between the contributed talks and the invited talks. And then that included 2 merges, so it's actually 31 talks, 31 actual submissions that were accepted. So that worked out to an acceptance rate of about 23%, which is pretty low. This was one of the side effects of having a virtual conference that got so many submissions. And the result was there were a lot of submissions that we knew they would make good quality talks, and they were pretty well reviewed, but they were just outcompeted. So unfortunately, we had to reject a lot of good work. So one of the challenges we had was we wanted a pretty even split between experimental talks and theoretical talks. But as we just saw on the last slide, that's difficult because we got a lot more theoretical than experimental talks. So the way that we resolved this was we were very loose in what we defined to be an experimental talk, and we were a lot more strict in what we defined to be a theoretical talk. If something was kind of in between, we tended to put it over into the experimental category. So that relieved some of the competition on the theoretical side. And yeah, so by that rough categorization, we had about 15 experimental talks and 14 theoretical talks. We accepted 141 posters, essentially a 100% acceptance rate. And then for the student prize, that was determined after the contributed talk selection prize was over. So basically we considered all the contributed talk submissions, ones that had been selected for talks that also self-identified as being eligible for the student prize. And the program committee did a separate vote and chose 5 finalists, which I'm going to tell you later in this session, later in this program. And then after that, the steering committee, together with the PC chairs, chose the 2 winners, which will be awarded at the end. Okay, and lastly, I wanted to also say thanks to all the sub-reviewers, of which there were very many. This is a huge community effort, and we really appreciate your work. And that's it for me.
Yeah, thank you very much. And also a big virtual applause and a lot of thank you to the program committee. I know this is a lot of work. Also the sub-reviewers. And I know that QCrypt has a very high quality. It's very tough, at least if I compare it to other physics conferences I know. It's very tough to get through a talk. And I think this also is a very good sign. Now, let's go on. There's, as the next step, there's the solicitation of the proposals for next year's for the QCrypt. No, I'm sorry. Yes, there's as a next step, there's the presentation of next year's QCrypt, so 2022, and so I'm very happy that we can now announce where QCrypt 2022 will take place. It was a very tough decision. We had very good proposals, and now I hand over to the local organizing committee of QCrypt 2022.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Boyan Yang. Most of you probably don't know me because I'm a post-quantum cryptographer, but you probably know my friend and colleague, Kai-Min Chong, who is in your community. We are running this jointly in Taipei at Academia Sinica. So in case that you don't know this, Taiwan is a very nice place. I mean, we have, as shown here, we have tall mountains, green fields, hot springs, lovely beaches, and we have some of the best food per cost and very nice people. And Kai-Min wants to say that we also have very nice beer. The place that we want to run our conference is our Humanities and Social Sciences building. And they recently renovated and have a very, very nice modern conference hall that holds up to 400 people. I understand that we don't expect so many, but we have connected conference rooms that can be used as overflow rooms if this happens. It's connected electronically. Getting into Taiwan is not hard. Visa-free entry is available for at least 2 weeks to most countries. We can handle invitations and visas pretty well for those remaining. We are experienced, and we will announce visa assistant details as the time gets closer. It's easy to fly to Taipei, and the airport is accessible by metro rail. And we are currently negotiating for hotel rooms, and we will definitely run shuttles from and to campus hotels in the morning and evening. And the average price will be $100 US, including breakfast and Wi-Fi, or hopefully less. There are many Airbnb rooms in Taipei. You are free to try it. We won't guarantee that you will succeed. However, mass transport is great in Taipei, so it's easy to move around. And even if you stay far off campus, you should be able to get to the campus easy and quickly. And we are prepared that we have a hybrid or virtual QCrypt. A virtual event is everybody is doing it. I mean, we are advantaged in that our venue doesn't charge us if we cancel, and we will set up a local meeting server anyway. And if things go virtual, we won't have much income, but we don't have to fly the invited speakers over either. A hybrid event is much more trouble to run. However, our venue is pretty well connected, and our main conference room, even with social distancing, should hold 100. So we think we are fine, and we plan constant monitoring of the virtual meeting room for questions. Like this is a floor plan of the venue. As you can see, there is a big international conference hall in the center, and two pretty large secondary conference rooms that can hold overflow people. They are connected electronically. And there is a large area outside that we plan to put people who are doing lunch. And this venue is home to last year's and this year's HitCon, which is Taiwan's largest and one of Asia Pacific's largest hackers events. So we know that our connectivity is not a problem, and we can host many, many people here. And there are even foyers available to put up your posters in. So we are now, of course, asking you to contribute. And like this year, we hope to see an exciting technical program. And we will also be looking for sponsor and industry exhibitors. And I mean, we already have our email address. So please contact us if you are interested in sponsoring or exhibiting. So with that, we say we are looking forward to welcome everybody to Taiwan for QCrypt 2022. And we hope to see all of you here. We are ready to take some questions, if any.
Thank you very much, Boyin. Yes. So I know it's always an extra effort to do those kind of hybrid conferences. So I appreciate that very much. Are there already some questions? You can either raise your hand or type this into the Slack. Or you can think about it, and we can have that in the question session. And now at that point, then thanks a lot. I'm looking forward very much to QCrypt 2022. So the next point of the agenda. We are now talking then about the solicitation of proposals for QCrypt 2023. So And QCrypt 2023 can be applied to host for QCrypt 2023. So if you're interested, please send a letter of intent. So this needn't be long, with some details in there. Send the letter to the QCrypt steer at googlegroups.com by November the 1st, 2021. And the information is really just the name and affiliation, the conference dates, and I should say preferably in late August 2023, because this tended to be a good date to host QCrypt because of teaching duties all over the world. And then write something about the location, the size of the intended conference venue, and also the contingency for fully or partially virtual event. And then the steering committee will ask the top contenders to work out a full proposal for hosting QCrypt 2023. So probably we will put this information also up to the website again, so you can look at that. And we're very happy if you send us some letter of intent for hosting QCrypt 2023. All right. So with that, let's have some time for general questions and discussions. Is there already some discussions and questions? I know Chris and Serge, you're monitoring the Slack, because I can't do this right now on the monitor.
Yeah, that's right. So far, there was only a question from Anne about the dates of QCrypt, but Kaivin has answered those for next year. Of course, I think people could write in the Slack, but also you can just raise your hand, attendee, and ask the question yourself. And Anne, actually, you can just unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, yeah, I have a question. I'd like to know about the videos for QCrypt 2019. I could not find them online. I could only find one. I was trying to refer to them in my tutorial that's coming up, and they were not there. Any information about that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And actually, this also caused us some headache with all the websites and so on. And this is kind of a general question. And maybe Chris, you had some, Chris and Serge, you had some information about that, right?
Yes. So the status of the 2019 website is down already for a while. And the problem is at Vadim's place, I think it's Vadim Makarov, who is hosting the sites and has been hosting the sites for the last, 7 years, which is actually great. So he's looking into that, so that at least the website will be revived. Also, the link that I showed before actually has a static copy of it, but it still means that the talks themselves are not there. So as far as I know from Montreal, that the talks have been recorded and they're lying on a hard drive somewhere in Montreal. That's the as far as I know, the status. Gilles is raising his hand, and Gilles can say more about this. Here you go, Gilles, please.
Yeah, I'm very sorry, but I don't think that it would ever become available. There was a mix-up in those hard drives, and it doesn't seem to be recoverable. So I apologize to all the people who were counting on their presentations being at some point available from QCrypt 2019, but it's unlikely to ever happen. With apologies. That's it.
Okay, so yes, this points us to a general kind of issue about the websites and so on, how to do contingency with the websites. We actually started discussing that also in the steering committee, how to cope with that, and we definitely will put this on the agenda again in some of the next discussions. How to do this most efficient. The problem is nowadays, of course, is that all those website technologies, they're very sophisticated and so on, very versatile, but that also means that you really have to keep them running. It's not just that you let them sit there. And so we will think about some solutions so that one can make this long-lasting as a long-lasting solution, and to have that available for a long time, right? To look at those things on the conference. I mean, one solution is, of course, to put things up to some YouTube server or so, and then hope that Google will do the job, right, for a long time. But I think this is a general challenge to preserve digital data over a long time. So we will definitely discuss this again in the steering committee.
Yes, of course. I think that's a good idea. I know, for instance, I was trying to collect all the QCrypt videos on the QCrypt channel on YouTube, and I think I basically succeeded. Then I was also wondering about the videos from the very first 2 editions, because those were hosted on an ETH server. That it turned out that they revived it. So so actually ETH kind of has the videos there available. And yeah, I see Norbert has actually asked a question in the Slack, and I think, Norbert, you can also unmute yourself and speak, whether money would help to recover last year's video from Montreal. Maybe Gilles can answer this question.
I'm not sure what you meant by adding to discussion. I just said that these videos will never be available.
Okay.
You're lost. You're essentially lost. So just don't bring about them, please. Very sorry.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? If you have some questions or some remarks also for the steering committee, some ideas, you also can send us an email, right? I mean, this is always possible, or approach any one of us. We're always happy for input.
Right. I mean, one thing that I mean I've been discussing with a few people before is that it's a general problem of QCrypt, but also other conferences like QIP and TQC, that there is no kind of governing body behind all of these conferences. No, it's especially in QCrypt, it's just a loose conference organized every year, and then we're giving the surplus over to the next guy. But there's no legal body behind all of this, and I see the difference, for instance, to the IACR, the International Association for Cryptographic Research, that just has some budget, and there's a member administration system, and there's, in particular for local organizers, there's a big advantage of having such a body that will also cover for the risk. Now, if things don't work out financially, then otherwise, yeah, you have to get your institutions or so to guarantee for that. So having such a legal body behind, maybe not just QCrypt, but also QIP and TQC, it would be great. But then again, like, who's willing to set this up? I think if there's any volunteers out there, and I guess what you can get out of this is you can raise the profile of your institution by setting up something like that. But I think in general there is willingness to support such a movement, I would say.
That is true, yes. We were discussing actually also at some point in the steering committee about possibilities like that. And it's not so easy because there's different organizations existing already right now, maybe from computer science, maybe from physics and so on. Now, QCrypt has the nice aspect that it is both, right? Very, very interdisciplinary. But definitely this is also something we should still keep on discussing also in the future, because that's a very, very interesting and helpful aspect. Are there any further question
Well, sort of related actually to this remark of QCrypt, involving theory and experimentalist, Yves Kedulik is asking about the scope of QCrypt going forward, in specifically with respect to bringing theory and experiments closer together.
That is a good point. Yeah, usually when we, for example, when we advise our tutorial speakers, we say that because it's so interdisciplinary, one should always have very good introductions, and always, if one is a theorist, have a very easy introduction at the beginning, also for experimentalists, and vice versa for experimentalists, computer scientists and physicists, because even language can be different in all those cases. I think this already helps, but yes, this is I think one of the very special aspects and very unique aspects of QCrypt, which makes it also very valuable. But also, of course, it's a challenge that sometimes people are even speaking different languages concerning topics. So if there's any proposition to help this even further in future, we're very happy about that, right? If we, I don't know, if we can create some even more tutorial sessions that help in this interdisciplinary case, we're very open to that. Okay, is there any further question or comment? If not so, then thanks a lot. And now we come to the long-awaited Best Student Paper prizes and awards. So I hand over to the program committee again.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Let's see, somebody else is screen sharing at the moment.
You can just overwrite, Carl.
Okay. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes, we can.
Great. Okay. So, so as in some previous years, we are awarding 2 student paper prizes, one of which is more on the experimental side, and one of which is more on the theoretical side.
Good.
And Tobias will go first.
Yes. So in 2013, I had the honor to receive the Best Student Paper Prize myself. So this year, it's my pleasure to announce the Best Student Paper Prize winner in the experimental category. And the winner is high-rate quantum key distribution with silicon photonics. Congratulations, Likan Tsang and the team. It's very nice work. Integrated photonics is a necessary milestone towards cost-effective QKD solutions. And the work you present, you together with the team, is outstanding in the technical quality, and we expect high impact. And we are very much looking forward to hearing your talk tomorrow at 3:45 Amsterdam time. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to thank all my other members in our research team, and best wishes to the last year's QCrypt. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Congratulations, Likan. And then for the second prize, the second prize is awarded to Tony Metger for device-independent protocols from computational assumptions. There's been a recent wave of very important results dealing with quantum computation plus classical communication to accomplish cryptography. And this work was a major advance on that topic. So congratulations, Tony.
Yeah, thank you very much. And also thanks to Gay Andrea for Momentum for making this a really fun thing to work on.
Great. Okay, and since applause are a little, oh, I am hearing some applause. Okay. Well, in addition to the applause, we have this. Okay. Great. So congratulations to the winners, and then I wanted to give official recognition to 3 other finalists. So as I said, there were 5 finalists chosen by the program committee, and the following were finalists: finite size device independent QKD with noisy pre-processing and random key measurements, drone-based quantum key distribution, and quantum private broadcasting. So congratulations to all the students this year for their work.
Congratulations.
Yes, thanks a lot. Congratulations. This is also another round of virtual applause. And so with that, from my side, thanks a lot. Thank you very much for all the local organizers, the program committee, also for the contributions, for all the nice talks and tutorials, the posters. So this is a very good virtual QCrypt 2021, and I'm looking forward to the next talks and that we can hear until tomorrow. So with that, I want to close the business meeting, and again, please, if you have any further suggestion, question, or so, you can write an email also to the steering committee. We're always open to all propositions and the suggestions that might come up. Thank you very much.